Hello and good morning. I had originally recorded some audio outside the house, which I do not consider my home, and then some extra while I was sitting at the train station. This was using the microphone on my headphones. It surprisingly records in stereo. I don't know if that's because, well, I'm not going to worry about that, but it does record in stereo, and there's a difference between the two tracks, which is interesting. It's a tiny little microphone. Maybe it has two sides to it. It's an interesting thought, mildly at least. Anyway, the part that I recorded at the train station, which is right next to I-95 and the exit ramp from I-95, was horrible. When I tried to reduce the sound, meaning when I tried to reduce the noise using the noise reduction function on Audacity software, it made the spoken portion so utterly bizarre and garbled that even I couldn't make out what I'd said, and I was the one who had said it. So here I am redoing it using the actual condenser microphone that I have at the office, which I got later on. Weirdly enough, I think that I recorded my actual songs, the ones that are up on Spotify and YouTube Music and iPlayer and whatnot. I think that I recorded those using a cheaper microphone than this one. Somewhat ironic. I mean, not that they don't show signs that they were made using both poor recording technology, poor meaning not wealthy recording technology, and that they were mixed using not quite state-of-the-art software, although Audacity is very good, but on a desktop computer by a person who was figuring out as he went along. Given all that, I think it turned out pretty well. The songs are at least... I didn't have any kind of Pro Tools, so occasionally, because I had to do each part individually, the rhythms are not quite as crisp as I would like them to be. The bass compared to the drum beat, compared to the guitar and the singing are not as perfect as they would be if I had done them in a studio and had of course practiced a lot. Well, I practiced, but if I had worked on them a lot and that was my full-time job, and then was able to use something like Pro Tools to snap things to the beat, and I don't mean snapping my fingers to the beat, obviously. Anyway, I recorded basically just some nonsense, but it's useless. There's no point to trying to share it. The one thing that I think was relatively thoughtful, if not interesting, was the recognition that Uber, for instance, has a default rating for its drivers after a trip of 5 stars out of 5 stars. So if you don't enter anything in your Uber driver's response at the end, it just gives them 5 stars. It assumes that if you didn't complain, they were perfect. And this is sort of a piece with the kind of attitude that, works for, you hear stories, I read stories, really, about places like Yale, where the average GPA now is an A. The average GPA? I know universities, including Ivy League universities, weren't like that when I went to college. Sure as hell wasn't like that at Cornell. Although maybe that way now, I don't know. If so, it's pathetic. And it's similarly useless for Uber drivers. If you rate an Uber driver anything other than a 5, they ask what was wrong. Now, sometimes that's useful because if somebody did do something like take a weird route or drive recklessly or just, have a phone conversation or argument with a girlfriend or something while they're driving, not that this has happened to me, it's reasonable to be able to make a note of that. Although you still have you have to do checkbox style responses. It doesn't really make it easy for you to simply say what that was less than satisfactory. But it means that if the average is about 5, it doesn't, when they show you the rating of your Uber driver, the one who's coming to pick you up, and it's a 5, it tells you nothing. Nothing at all. Well, next to nothing. It tells you that they haven't been so egregious that a significant number of people marked them below 5. I mean, 4.9, whatever. Occasionally people will mark them 4 because there's going to be people who are grumpy and disgruntled and no matter what. But it means that if the mean is basically just about at the top end, there's no way to get a standard deviation or any kind of appropriate distribution to tell how far from the mean a person is. So it's all kind of pointless and useless. Similarly with grades. Somebody now going for a job says they graduated from Yale with an A average. It's just like, yeah, everybody graduated from Yale with an A average. Why should I pick you over this other Yale graduate? Because presumably Yale graduates will tend to apply to similar types of jobs as each other. It allows for no differentiation, and there are, look, it should be that a C average from Yale is better than a B average from a mediocre community college. But now I would say probably because I suspect most community colleges actually grade people on a scale. Although maybe they don't. I don't know. I'm speculating. I would not speculate that someplace like Yale or Harvard or Johns Hopkins would give people all A's. To me, a competitive school, a hard school, should, if anything, grade more harshly. It should be that you got a D average, but it was from Yale, so still Yale. For instance, you passed, at a top-notch school. That should be worth something exceptional relative to somebody who got a higher average at a mediocre or middling range school. But if anything, it's just less impressive. Oh, yeah. Plus, let's face it, the public image of Yale students has not been good for the last 10 or so years. They seem like lots of entitled, extremely privileged pieces of shit. But that may be unfair. I don't know them. Nevertheless,
it wasn't like that in my day.
Anyway, I don't really have anything to say. I'm doing this just as a throwaway thing to give a bone to myself and to people who listen to and read my blog. I don't think I'm going to be doing this every day. I don't know if I'll do it every week. I don't know how often I'll do it. If I keep my original comments to under 10 minutes, the edited stuff should get even lower than that. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.